Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power, and coming up next on The Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO LP Rochester, we're going to be talking about vacation. We've got a little behind the scenes gossip and maybe a couple things from NPR. We'll see how it goes. That's about it. I don't know. It's going to be a good show. But first,
I'm Ross Johnson, the master of murder, and welcome back to the Murdery Blow Murder Show right here on WAYO 104.3 FM. Blowers, I have an especially thick and juicy case to share with you today. That's right, I'm finally going to be doing a deep dive into the shocking and dreadful murder of Heather Zykowski, the middle-aged Rochester, New York woman whose disappearance and the long-awaited, extremely gruesome discovery of her poor, ravaged body shocked and entranced the nation in 2016.
Ross, what are you doing?
Ow, jeez. So sorry, blowers. It seems that I have some kind of short in my cans here. Just got a bad zapparoo to my ears, you know. Okay, everything seems fine now. So, as I was saying, a notorious lush as she was, it took some days for anyone to notice Heather Zykowski was missing, and not just on a bender or passed out from some kind of bender or planning her next bender, but
it's not nice.
When she went days without posting a photo of her beloved elderly feline companion on social media, friends and colleagues became concerned.
What?
It was well known the middle-aged woman never answered her phone. Friends said she claimed she didn't like to talk on the phone, but they suspected to themselves that it was because she didn't know how to use it. Ow, jeez! Ow!
Ross, this isn't funny and it isn't nice. What are you trying to do here? Stop pretending like you can't hear me.
Ow. I'm so sorry, blowers. There's something really off with these headphones today. I keep getting shocked. This is so weird. Maybe it's the headphone jack.
Ross, come on, quit it. This isn't cool and I'm getting a little upset.
Okay, I'm sorry for that dead air. It's the first day back in the studio and all, and I guess I'm just out of practice on how things work around here. Where was I? For this reason, a flurry of texts and messages via social media were sent, and as these sat unread, concerns heightened. A few of Heather Zykowski's friends to whom she'd given her house key decided they needed to check on the woman. Despite her reclusive ways and insistence that no one should ever, ever, ever come to her home unannounced.
Which is completely reasonable.
Ow!
You need to stop this right now.
Ow!
It's mean and annoying, and I don't like it.
Ow. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with these cans. Blowers, I'm sorry, and I promise I will be back to tell you all the sad and lurid tale of the murder of Heather Zykowski. But I need to call Max. Just a second. Whatever's up with these headphones is beyond me. I'm going to turn it over to some music, and I'll be back once we're up and running here on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester.
Ross, come on. Drop the act. This has gone on for too long. Ross, what's going on?
Ow. Is that? Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome back to The Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO.
Didn't you get murdered?
FM. You know, I did, and then I didn't, and it was The Sound of Tomorrow, and then it was the Murdery Blow Murder Show, and now it's the SOT again. And here's the behind the scenes that I promised everybody. I wrote that skit last night, and I was like, this is going to be so funny. It's a callback to the Murdery Blow Murder Show, like you said when we were talking about the true crime podcasts. And I wrote that, and I know it wasn't very good, and it was kind of dumb and probably didn't make a lot of sense. But the other thing is, it really bummed me out.
Oh.
Like, I wrote it and then I was like, wow, why'd you do that? Why'd you, okay, why? And it kind of led to like a minor existential crisis.
Huh.
I know.
I mean, is it because...
I've been murdered on the show before.
Right. You've been murdered a lot. And in more, expected ways. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you got drunk on gin and fell out of a window. So that's much more plausible, actually.
No, that was in real life. In the skit, it was Mermelstein who went out the window.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I get on air you and off air you mixed up, which is why I never know if you've been murdered or not.
I know. I feel like, have you been murdered, or are we always just murdering me?
I think we're mostly murdering you, although I think I've been murdered once or twice on a Halloween.
Well, and we killed each other.
Mm-hmm. That's true. There's been a double murder situation. Yeah.
But for some reason, this one just, I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry. The good news is you're fine.
For now.
Sure.
I'm right here. Now you can hear me again.
I mean, by way of lessening your existential crisis and making it all sound okay, we're all okay for now. That's really the best any of us can hope for.
That's right. It's absolutely
That's the best life's ever going to give you.
Yeah. But so that was a weird experience. And I woke up feeling fine this morning.
Right.
Who gets up in the morning? Come on. I'm on my December break. So that means also break from reality, apparently.
Well, try not to get yourself murdered.
I will try my very best. And you try that too. And I'm going to say, Space Cadets, all of you, try not to get murdered.
Sure. That's our new catchphrase.
I almost think that's one of those true crime podcast catchphrases.
Yeah, you're right. Well, there's the one, what's the one that's like, stay pretty and don't get murdered or something like that?
Is that, that's the one I'm most familiar with. Is that My Favorite Murder?
Yeah,
Murderer?
I think so. Listen to us.
Well, that's why I had to get, like with the Murdery the blowers, because they have the murderinos on that show.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we've talked about true crime. I'm funny with true crime, but
yeah,
because sometimes I find it like you and your horribly mangled corpse we were just talking about. I often find it depressing.
Yeah,
and
that was.
I often find it, and sometimes it's exploitative.
Yeah.
Or very often I find it exploitative.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's fine. I'm not opposed. I mean, there's, again, like we always say, I have questionable taste in plenty of stuff. So I'm not judging anyone who's super into true crime. It's just for me, I don't always dig it. It's not always my thing.
And I can get scared sometimes as well. Yeah,
I get a little, it's sort of in a way that the most over the top horror stuff usually won't bother me. True crime is sort of like, oh, someone could come in and kill me. Like there's probably not a ghost that's like, hiding out and going to throw ashtrays at my head or whatever. That's a ghost story. Right? Did I just write that? Did I just write a new ghost story for Christmas?
I think you did.
Yeah. But whatever happens in a ghost story is probably not going to happen to me. Freddy Krueger's probably not going to come get me,
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I could be murdered. I mean, it's not impossible. So that hits a little closer to home, I guess.
Yeah, all that stuff. And definitely, I think I'm probably not going to try to parody any more true crime podcasts.
Okay.
Because my venture into it wasn't actually that fun.
Yeah.
It was an exercise in, well, I guess I've got to finish this. Which, let's face it. I think half of our skits are an exercise in, guess I got to finish this.
Where is the yeah, when I'm writing them, there tends to get to a point very quickly where I go, where is the nearest exit?
Yeah. Yep.
How can I end this right now?
Yep.
Or do I have to? Yeah. And I think that's what people are kind of thinking as they're listening as well.
I'm sure they are.
Where is the nearest exit?
Yeah, because I know with me, it's usually a pretty thin, not that funny joke that I'm trying to base the whole thing on.
Right. And you're like, can this really sustain 8 pages? Probably not.
Right. That's the thing. It
can't
even sustain the 5 I gave it.
But I also don't know how to end.
I believe every skit could be ended with, oh, Ross.
That's true. That's a good one. So, Heather.
Ross.
I heard that you did an uncharacteristic thing, and I'd like to hear all about it. And it's not getting murdered. It's going to a sports ball game.
I did go to a sports ball game.
Who am I talking to even? Who
You're
is
talking
this?
to
Who
Heather
are you?
Zakowski, the babe with the power, who's now just I'm like a sports expert now.
Do we have anything in common even? Is this show even able to continue?
It's our love of sports that we have in common.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right.
I have heard
Um,
of sports. And
yeah,
I'll
and
have you know that I got a sports question correct on Jeopardy yesterday. So,
that's awesome. I think
not
that's
on
better than
Jeopardy. I
Jeopardy.
wasn't on Jeopardy.
You should be. You're smart enough to be on Jeopardy.
Thank you. If I did, I would be a very poor showing if they had a sports category because I'd get one question and then I'd get trampled. But
I'd get zero. Yeah, I did. And it wasn't just any sports thing. It was like a real professional, like National Football League game.
wow.
And then the team we were rooting for won.
So is that so that's football, is that American football we're
It's
talking about, or
American football.
soccer?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's American
Okay.
football.
Sure.
Yeah, with with the big guys who wear the helmets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's
Right.
the goalpost thing, and they play it on grass. It's not the
Okay.
one on ice.
I'm not being entirely silly here when I say this, and I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, I'm too good for that. I'm too busy studying the opera." But I really like I'm saying this with a little bit of embarrassment, and this is not a humble brag. I don't really 100% understand the rules of football.
No, no,
Like I don't know how it works exactly.
I don't
I can
either. And it's
I
got to
get
be
I get other
willful.
sports. Like I
Yeah.
know how basketball and baseball work.
Yes.
But I don't I don't 100% understand the rules of football. And when I
I
watch
don't
football,
either.
I'm just kind of pretending like I'm following along.
Same here. And this is despite pretty much a lifetime of people trying to explain it to me.
Right?
So I think it's got to be willful on my part. Like, it can't be that hard. Many,
It
many
can't be.
people understand like all the ins and outs of football. And I've had very smart people who know what they're talking about try to explain it to me. So what it's got to be is that I don't want to hear.
And incredibly stupid people who also can explain it in perfectly good.
That's
So
true.
you're
That's
right.
true.
It's
Yeah.
not yeah,
So
it can't possibly be that hard.
yeah, so the problem has got to be me because you know that I grew up in a big sports family, right?
Yeah. Um
And
I didn't know that, but I
yeah, my entire
okay.
family big on sports, pretty much any sport. You put them in front of a sport and they'll love it, they'll know all about it, they'll be into it. They'll have an idea who the teams are and
Wow.
they'll probably have a favorite team.
Okay.
Yeah, big sports. So I'm assuming part of my I acknowledge that I have this unwillingness, but it's not conscious. Like when I
Yeah.
ask questions about what are they doing now, I really want to know, but there's something in me that takes that information and rejects it however much I
Yeah.
wanted it. And I think that's because like I didn't want to learn it when I was growing up. I I put that block in there.
I mean, I guess it is and I feel like I'm probably the same way because again, I feel like I could understand it if I wanted to. There is I mean, this is literally I don't feel like it's a particularly important thing. I mean, I don't feel like my life is bereft without this knowledge, but it is a good lesson in sort of willful ignorance and how you just can sort of refuse to learn something that's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah, it's interesting how like I kind of didn't until now know that I did that. Because
Hmm.
going to this game and everything, it was actually exciting. It's like an experience.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was a thing I'd never done before.
Mhm.
I was into it. But judging by how I can't remember anything, like any of the terms or anything, that were very clearly like and simply explained to me, it lets me know that there's something going on with me that's like, nope.
Yeah.
But it was even so that being said, even I understood that it was an exciting game. Like it got right down to the end, and then the Steelers
Mhm.
actually won, but it was looking like they really, really were not going to.
Ooh.
And the score was super duper close. So even knowing nothing about it, like I understand that 21-20 is, or whatever the final score was. That's how bad I am. I don't even
Right.
remember.
Right.
This was a week ago. Um, but it was fun, and I got to cheer and got some weird football stadium pizza.
Okay. So you didn't get a hot dog.
No, no, a hot dog was obtained. I got to see one. I
Oh,
didn't have
nice.
any of it though, because I don't eat hot dogs.
Right. It just seems like a thing
It
that
is.
one would have.
I wish I ate hot dogs because that would be the context in which I'd go like, it's time to have a hot dog.
Time to have a hot dog. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh.
But yeah, it was fun.
It sounds adventuresome.
It most definitely was. And it was even like a road trip to Pittsburgh, which was a city I'd never been to before.
Yeah. I really like Pittsburgh.
It was fun.
I've been there a couple times, and it's surprise like you don't people don't talk about Pittsburgh like, oh my god, Pittsburgh, it's a nice city and you should go to Pittsburgh. Like you never it's just like Pittsburgh, oh Pittsburgh, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I've the 2 or 3 times I've been there, I've really liked it every time. I've had a really good feeling and time and experience, and I don't know, people seemed fine. I
Yeah,
guess. I don't
people
know,
were
nice, or I don't know if they
absolutely
were nice, but
fine.
fine, yeah.
Everybody actually seemed nice.
Yeah.
And there was a ton to do. Like we were just staying downtown, and my traveling companion ended up having to work during the day. So
Mhm.
I did this fun thing where I booked myself spa time both days.
Oh, very nice.
And so I went and like got my nails done one day, and then I wandered around and looked for food. And then the next day I got a massage, and then I came out and I found this lovely holiday village with all these vendors set up and everything. So I was just
Wow.
wandering around having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun just to wander. I mean, if you're in a if you're in an area where you can just wander around, I'm a big fan of just wandering.
Yeah, it was good. I did find that this was the first time I was also very, very conscious of how dependent on the maps on my phone I am.
Okay, yeah.
Because I didn't really print anything or study anything and didn't really know where I was. So I was
Mhm.
just kind of barging around with Google talking to me.
Yeah.
And that was a little like, I should know where I'm going by now. But then it was only, 3 days.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think you have to memorize where you're going.
But yeah, it was fun. There were like good food, good drinks, fun things to do. Took a little ghost tour, which,
Oh,
those
yeah.
ghost tours they turn quickly into like a history and architecture tour.
Right, because the ghosts are rarely forthcoming.
Well, and then a lot of the ghosts were kind of the generico ghosts, like
Ah, okay.
this building caught fire and 18 people very, very sadly perished, and weird things happen in the building. But, a lot of them aren't a specific, like this person who did that and they
Yeah.
do this and people see them there. Though there is a judge who haunts the courthouse. But yeah, it was
It,
cool. And this time of year, it's all decorated for the holidays with pretty lights and stuff. So I would definitely recommend Pittsburgh.
yeah, it's nice. It's nice to cuz we were also traveling around the same time
Yes.
you were, and it was sort of nice to we sort of cut short the beginning of the holiday at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because the beginning of the month and the beginning of December is when we'd normally sort of decorate and whatever, but we were going away, so we didn't do any of that. And so it was nice that there was holiday stuff where we were going. That made it sort of a fun little extra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. For some reason, I usually travel around this time of year. And it's one of my favorite things to see all of the holiday decorations and stuff. And even lately, like the cheesy Christmas carols at the mall and stuff, I'm I'm there for it. Play me a Mariah Carey. I'll take it.
You know what's funny? I'm this year I was saying like I'm feeling very holiday-y. I'm feeling very Christmassy. Like like I'm into all the decorations. For some reason, more so than ever, I'm like I cannot deal with this music. It's the weirdest thing cuz normally I'm sort of all in or I'm not. I mean
Hmm.
I'm not a Scrooge. I'm not a humbug. Normally
Nah.
I like a holiday no matter what it is. I like a special, special thing. And usually Christmas is like, okay, I'm a little sick of this music already, but I am it's part of the part of the whole package. It's part of the whole thing. I'm tolerating it. I'm enjoying it to a point, just as part of the package. This year I'm like, I am super into Christmas. I want to see decorations and trees and lights and all that and and things and all that. But for some reason, I'm hearing Christmas carols on the wherever they're playing, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't even deal with this. Why are you playing this music? It's the weirdest thing this year. And I'm running with it because I don't really. It's fine if I don't hear. I'm gonna hear them anyway.
You are, because you'll be
But
like
I'm
pumping
definitely
gasoline and White Christmas is playing, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't.
Mhm. I'm definitely
Please
not
don't.
seeking it out. Like a lot of years, it's like I'll put it on the radio in the car just because like this is part of the package. This is what we're doing. you know, I don't necessarily want to hear this music, but it is part of the package. This year, I'm avoiding it. So
Yeah.
it's fine. But
I almost always avoid it at home because I've got
yeah.
my own Christmas mix, which you can imagine what a Christmas mix for me is. We reran one last week. Yeah,
Well, which is still
that's
Christmas music. I mean, it's not.
it is, but it's not like there's the stuff you just hear at the mall and
Yeah.
it never changes, and
Yeah.
it's what you're hearing at the mall.
Right.
So I am definitely up for that one next I go grocery shopping. But one more thing too, have you ridden the incline in Pittsburgh?
I don't think so.
It's cool. My sister was like, "Oh,
It's very.
if you're going, be sure to ride the Duquesne Incline." And I was like, "Oh, all right. I don't know what it is. Is it a ski lift? I have no idea." But it's like this cool thing, and it looked like old timey trolley cars.
Is it a
That
funicular?
is it? I don't
I don't know.
know. What's
I
a
don't know.
funicular?
I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm just
It's
I'm
just
just
trolley cars that go up a mountain,
okay.
and then they come down the
Like
mountain.
okay, so it's like on a track and it sort of gets pulled up.
Yep.
Okay, that
Is
sounds
that a
like a funicular.
funicular?
It sounds like a funicular.
Wow. Now I've
Yeah.
learned a new thing. It was fun, and you get to see the whole city. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
But
Look,
while I was away in Pennsylvania, you were somewhere much more exotic.
I was in Henrietta.
You are not. You were already gone by the time I left town and came back.
I was, yeah. We took our first big trip. So I have, strangely enough, this is weird to me because I grew up on the West Coast. I've been to San Diego a couple times. I've been to San Francisco. I've been to like the Donner Pass sort of area. Like I've been all over California, but I've
Mhm.
never been to Los Angeles, which is strange to other people and me.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, because even I've been to Los Angeles more than once.
yeah, and I mean I've been through the airport, but but yeah, I've never been to Los Angeles. So we had a big trip planned for last year that didn't happen.
Mhm. I
Can't remember
remember
why.
that it didn't happen.
Yeah. So we planned like a week in Los Angeles of not a lot of sightseeing, strangely enough. Like we had so many activities planned
Mhm.
that most of our sightseeing was sort of on the fly. Like
Yep.
it was like, oh, there's that building I like. Okay, take a picture out the window, quick. Just because it was so, and there was even stuff, and there was still sort of COVIDy stuff too. Like there's a building, there's a cool building that I like, that I like the inside of,
Uh-huh.
called the Bradbury Building, and it's a sort of a famous building, and it's in a lot of movies and TV shows, and it's just got a cool sort of Art Deco-y kind of look to it. And it's an office building, but it's usually open to the public. And we happened to be somewhere where we were right around the corner from it. And it was like the end of a day, and it was like we were exhausted, but I was like, can we just walk like just around the corner to this place? It looks like it's still open. And then they were closed to the public because of COVID. So
Mhm.
like the office workers could go in. So I have like pictures from inside the window. So that's really as far as we got in terms of like sightseeing kind of stuff. um but yeah, we went to LA Comic Con, which was also combined with the thing that we were going to do last year, kind of by coincidence, which was we were going to for Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek, her sort of like big retirement event,
Uh-huh.
because this is really, it's been enough. It's fine. Thank you. Oh, it was supposed to be like last year, and then now they did it this year. So we had tickets to that, and we had sort of done some other things with the company that was sponsoring it. So we had, fancy tickets to that last year that I sort of thought was just never going to happen.
Mhm.
And then it turns out that they combined it with this thing. So I will tell you, it was not for our, I mean, from a COVID perspective, it was sort of it was sort of an on one hand and on the other thing. Like
Uh-huh.
Los Angeles seemed very, I mean, even on the street, most people were wearing masks. Even
Ah.
a lot of the people sleeping rough were wearing masks.
Oh my goodness.
And the event, you had to show proof of vaccination to walk in the door. And if you couldn't show proof of vaccination for whatever reason, you had to get you had to get a rapid COVID test and show that you were negative, like right on the spot. So before you could walk in the door. So that was a good thing. On the other hand, I didn't know if they were going to limit the entry. So they had sort of an area with the Star Trek stuff that was a little separate from sort of the main thing. And that was more reasonable in terms of crowds. But as far as the event itself, I mean, it was like any Comic-Con convention thing you've ever seen or been to. I mean, it
Uh-huh.
was like wall to wall people. And they had done San Diego Comic-Con like a week or two before where they had limited attendance and people were like, "Oh, this is great. It's so, compared to normal, it's
Mhm.
so easy to get around and just even without COVID, it's sort of nice to just be able to like not be not be wall to wall people." This was pretty much wall to wall people. I don't know if they limited the attendance or not. I sort of assumed they would have.
Mhm.
But again, everybody was wearing masks. You had to be vaccinated to get in the building. So, was it bad? I don't know. And then there's
Uh,
that sort of cutout of like, well, if you're eating or drinking, and
yeah,
that's sort of a big cutout,
it
like
really is.
because I think the rule is technically like you're supposed to put your masks on in between sips and in between bites, but who does that? You know, who's really doing that? And then we went to so there was a lovely and very special. There was like a little after party for a fairly limited number of people, which was nice. Not an after party; it was like a party party. Um, and there were like Nichelle Nichols was there. She danced. It was not it was a lot of fun. It was very special. It was a very nice event. And there were some of the astronauts that Nichelle Nichols had worked with NASA were there. It was a very cool thing to be a part of. And again, it was a very
Yeah.
small. It was not a huge room with a million people. It was fairly, it was an intimate-ish type gathering. So that was very special. But then it was the kind of thing where, you know, we're we're drinking away.
Yeah.
You're drinking, you're dancing. I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
masks get sort of even
Yes.
for me, Mr. Super Careful, the mask got definitely like, oh, okay, I guess I put down my drink a few minutes ago. I could probably put my mask on back now. But it's just
Uh,
it's a
I
thing.
do.
So I don't know.
I do. I know. And I was even saying to a couple of people, like, this is the weirdest thing that Ross and I are both on vacation.
Yeah.
Like, Ross and I, the COVID people who isolated in our homes with
Mm-hmm.
like no breaks for months, suddenly we're just leaving the state and
Yeah.
and going wilding. Because kind of like you, we were being really, really good with our masks, though everybody in Pittsburgh, like, masks? What's that?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, like the hotel staff was great and everything, but I saw a lot of people's faces. But
Yeah.
then when you're out at the tiki bar and then you get another drink and then you're dancing, but your drink is still in your hand, where's the mask? Oh, in your
Yep.
pocket,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
and then, you know, you leave the tiki bar and it's just like, oh, what have we done?
Yeah. Well, that's it. And again, I'm reminding myself, at least with this thing, I know for a fact that everyone. I mean, I suppose people could have been scamming. I didn't see anybody using the like, well, I'll just get tested option. It seemed to be everybody was vaccinated. It seemed to be everybody I saw was vaccinated. So
Mhm.
I was at an event where everybody was vaccinated. Most people were wearing their masks much of the time. I mean, at the convention itself, for the most part, people were wearing their masks all the time. But there's a little food area. People are drinking
Uh-huh.
water, stuff like that. at the party thing, I don't know, so I don't know if that was and you have a few drinks, it definitely gets looser.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say even for me,
Yep. Well, and then I like for me, I'm like sitting down to get my pedicure, and the pedicurist isn't wearing a mask, and I'm just like, boop a doo, I guess I'll leave mine on. And then he's like 10 minutes in, and he stands up and pulls a mask out of his pocket and puts it on. And I'm like,
I don't know what the point of that is now, but
I know.
yeah.
And so I just tried to tell myself, like, I'm vaccinated and boosted, and I'm wearing a mask.
Yeah. And it was kind of neat in LA because like to go into a restaurant, you needed to show proof of vaccination. Like if you wanted to sit down, if you just went in, like if you just went in to pick up food, you had to be
Okay.
wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to sit down and get served and, obviously take your mask off to eat, you had to show
Mm-hmm.
proof of vaccination. So
That's
that was
nice.
almost everywhere.
Oh,
Almost
I like
everywhere
that a
was.
lot.
And
That
like
was
I said,
nowhere I went in Pennsylvania. Nowhere.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, and even
Yeah.
here, it's sort of a mixed picture depending on where you go.
I've been to one
But
venue where they've asked for proof.
yeah, I have not been. This was the first. I mean, this trip, even getting on the plane, I didn't have to prove anything, which I was sort of surprised about. But this trip, yeah, this was the first, these were the first instances that I've ever been asked to show my vaccination card anywhere at any time. So,
Yeah, there's one local bar where they now check that and your ID.
okay. Yeah. And this was, and this was all, I say vaccination card. It was everywhere was vaccination card and ID,
Mm-hmm.
shows your vaccination card and ID. And it was
No, I
consistent.
also went to the little theater and they were doing vaccination card and ID.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was interesting. It
Yeah,
was
it sounds good.
interesting.
I would feel safer with that. I
I feel a little
definitely,
safer.
yeah.
And like I said, a lot of people, even just walking around on the street, people would sort of have their masks on. So we were definitely went a little wild in some
Yeah.
respects, but in others, and we went to Universal Studios, and that was another situation where it was mostly outside, and it was
Mm-hmm.
and even out, and there even that was another case. To get in, you had to show your vaccination card, and you were not 100% of people were doing it, but you were expected to wear your mask even outside, anywhere, basically anywhere on the property. And I would say most people were. I mean, we saw a few people not, and
Mm-hmm.
again, it's that thing where that eating and drinking thing is a big cutout for that, because if you're
Right.
walking around with a water bottle. But I mean, it was a lot of people, but it was also pretty much everyone was masked and everyone had shown proof of vaccination to get in. So I don't know, it was fun.
Yeah. And I did wear my own mask for a fair bit of stuff. Just thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, when I was walking around on the street, I just had it on because why not?
Yeah, to me, it's half the time it's just easier to leave it on. I don't.
Yeah,
we
and it's
we
not
were
that uncomfortable.
we were definitely, I'm with us both working at home most of the time. I'm not used to wearing it so much, and I'm not someone who is going to complain about the mask because I know what that turns into and what
Hmm.
that winds up sounding like.
Yeah.
But we had that thing, like, the backs of our ears were definitely like sort of raw by the end of the week, just because
Oh,
we weren't used to wearing our masks everywhere. But
I'm really lucky. Early on, I had some masks that really kind of either they were too tight and they like bent my nose around, or they
mhm.
really hurt behind my ears. And I was lucky to find a couple different kinds that are just really comfortable and they fit really well. It's enough room for my face, but they're not like too big.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
and
the ear things are soft.
the ones we had were pretty fine. It was just wearing them pretty much all day, every day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Um, and we're walking around a lot. It's not like we were getting sweaty, but I checked, we were doing like the 22, 23, 24,000 steps a day thing,
Oh
where it
yeah.
was like, so, but no, it was really, and the Nichelle Nichols retirement thing was real cool.
Hmm.
There was a whole thing online because there's been a little bit of a conservatorship fight between, like, basically her son and her old agent.
Oh.
So a lot of people online, I don't know. I think, and again, I don't have any insider knowledge here, but people seem to be conflating that conservatorship fight with like elder abuse and the idea that if she was doing this thing, she was clearly being, manipulated and made to go do stuff, which I was a little, I
Oh.
mean, you don't know what goes on.
Mhm.
I don't have any insider knowledge. So I had a little bit of concern about that, but the whole thing, I mean, it was neat because so much of her family was there. Not just the son that's sort of, you know,
Mhm,
not
mhm,
just the
mhm.
son that's sort of at the center of the thing, but her sister was there, her nephew was there, a bunch of her in-laws, a bunch of not just coworkers from like TV, but I mean people because she was I think a founding member of, I want to say like the Kwanzaa Foundation or
Oh,
something like that. It
wow.
was a like an organization of black actresses that also raised money for charitable events. So it was sort of a almost a networking thing, but also they
Mhm.
raised money for charity. And so a bunch of the people that she has had done that, I think it's now sort of gone away, but she had been with that for decades. So there were enough people there that I felt like, okay, these can't all be just and Mae Jemison, who was the first black astronaut, who she's also been friends, the
Mhm.
first black woman in space, who she's also been friends with for decades, you know, who's someone I respect a lot. There were enough people there that I was like, because it did see, I mean, that woman was signing autographs like while, I mean, it was like, you were like, because we sort of got in, we had sort of a special arrangement, because we had
Yeah,
sort of
'cause
been involved before.
you guys are fancy.
We were fancy. So there were a bunch of people at this special arrangement, and we were like, wow, this is a lot of people for this 89-year-old woman to sign autographs. But then she was doing like autographs and pictures all weekend. And there was a little bit at the beginning, I was a little bit like, this seems like an awful lot for this lady, for
Yeah.
this you know woman who's starting to look a little starting to seem a little, getting a little frail, at 89. And but again, there were enough people there from her life
Mhm.
and her family that I feel like, okay, these people can't all be scumbags. Just they can't all be like, in here to get a cut of this autograph money or whatever.
Right.
Somebody would surely raise an alarm. And even with the autographs, where we were sort of like, this seems to be like a lot of, she was into it, like she was in, she was into it to the point where they sort of warned us, because we each had a thing like, can you please sign, we each have this thing that, could you please sign? And we were like, if you want to, if you, and we were sort of like, oh, if you could personalize the one, but you can just write your name on the other. And somebody was like, she's going to want to personalize it. She's going to just, she's going to want to, you can ask for that, but she's going to want to
Mhm.
personalize. And it was seriously like, oh, you can, we don't want to hold you up. We have two things. You don't need to write a book on each of our things. If you just want to, if you would just sign your name, that would be plenty and lovely. And she was like, and she was almost grilling us like about like, oh, I can't personally. She's like, can I write blessings? And she goes, can I write blessings? And I was like, of course you can write blessings. Yes.
Yes. Anything you
I'm
want.
really just trying to save your time here. Like, I'm trying to save your poor hand. So again, she seemed to enjoy it. She seemed to really be into it and enjoy interacting with people and talking to people and all that. So I don't know. I don't feel like she was. And at the party, she got up and danced, and she was like, she was in a wheelchair, a bunch of the time, but she got up and danced and all that. And so it was the table that she was sitting at was the table that I had spilled my drink on earlier in the evening. So that was must have been fun for her, because like we were just sitting, we had sort of gotten there early-ish, and we were just sitting at a table that was sort of out in the middle. We were just kind of standing around it, and
Uh-huh.
her son, Kyle, was like, sort of points over and he was like, can we have that table? Because she had come in and she just wanted to, and most of them were high tops, and this was sort of a lower thing so
Ah,
that she
yes.
could sit at. And I was like, okay, so I carried it over, but it was I had like spilled, I had spilled part of a drink on it and all that. So I'm sure
You
that
and
was,
Mike carry an awful lot of tables.
we do. I think we just look like people who are going to help you move furniture. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess this is only the second, like, so we carried the table over, but it's like, wait a minute. Why y'all carrying tables all over the place?
I will say this was a very light table. This was not.
Oh, that's good.
I think much of the weight of the table was my spilled drink on it. So, um, but yeah, I'm trying to think what else was fun. I got felt up pretty bad at the airport, so that was
Oh, no.
unpleasant. I
Oh,
have
I'm
never.
sorry.
I am a. I am a white person.
Yeah.
So I realize before I complain about this that there are people for whom this happens to all the time, but I normally I have one of the pre-check things, but
Uh-huh.
it didn't come up on my thing for some reason. And I was like, whatever, it was the Rochester airport. I'm not gonna
Yes.
throw a fit about saving 5 seconds by going through, you know, the line on the right that has two people in it versus the line on the left that has three people in it. It was just like not worth it. So, but I went through the scanner and
Yeah.
the guy grabs me and points the scanner, which shows it's got a front and back view and shows these giant red blotches over my crotch and buttocks.
Sure.
Or sorry, groin and buttocks, I think were his words.
Yeah.
Um, and he was like, "Oh, we can." The guy was very professional. I mean, I
Mhm.
think he was doing everything he was supposed to be doing. But he was like, we can do a private screening, and I was like, I don't really want to. And
Mhm,
as much
mhm,
as I
mhm,
didn't want to do this in front of people, I also
mhm.
was like, I don't really want to go in a room. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I don't really want
Yes.
to go in a private. I'd rather kind of have there be people here
Oh,
than to
yes.
go into a room and then possibly have it dragged out more too. Obviously, if
Mhm.
I'm standing there holding up the line, maybe this is going to go a little quicker than if we have to go off in a side room. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot of he was like there was a lot of I don't know. There was a lot of grabbing. It was very upsetting. I was not
I
expecting to be
yes.
as upset as I was. Not because
I'm
I
really
was
sorry.
not because I was scared, because I knew there was not like unless somebody had
Right.
shoved something in my pants that I didn't know about, I knew there was nothing there. And he was like squeezing my thigh, like, "You sure you don't have anything in this pocket?" I'm like, "I guess I have thigh fat. I don't know what you're looking for." Like it was a little weird in that I know nothing's there, so it's not like I can pull something out and be like, "Oh my god, I forgot to take this off." So I was a
Yeah.
little weird, like I was sort of like, "What happens now?" Because
Mhm.
I don't have anything. So how do I prove that that scanner thing is wrong?
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So then he did that, and I was a little shaken. And again, I realize there are people for whom this is a regular occurrence. So I before I complain too
Yeah.
much, but
And
man, I did not like it.
you might you
I
might
don't
know
like
this
being
about
touched.
me. I'm one of the people for whom it happens all the time,
Okay.
and it's been escalating over the years, levels of how shaken up I am.
Mm,
Because, like, a long time ago, it was my shoes. They had to, like it was when you could still wear shoes through,
okay.
and they had to double check my shoes. All right, that's fine. My shoes, that's great. Then there came a fixation with my underwire bra. So I had a lot of TSA agents pushing beneath my breasts to
Oh,
make sure it was my bra that was picked up.
which you think would be very commonplace and easy to recognize.
Yes, you really, really would. It's a very common undergarment that a
Hmm.
lot of people wear. And this last flight, I was kind of almost shaking going through TSA because the flight before that, I had also had an anomaly located in my groin region,
Huh.
which led to a woman kneeling before me with her hands up my dress as she pressed on my crotch and kept going, "Stop moving! Stop moving!" And this is all while another woman is holding my purse. So she's staring at me getting groped by the TSA lady while she's holding on to my purse. I'm just like, I was shaking for hours.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry about that. Do you think we had
And
the
I'm sorry
same?
it happened to you.
Do you think we had the same groin anomaly?
I, I have no idea because, again, like you, there was nothing. I was
Right.
wearing like leggings. I was wearing underwear. Like I didn't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
have no idea what they thought they saw. Like I was just wearing clothes that were made out of fabric. I wasn't wearing like metallic undies or something.
Well, it sounds like your person was, like I say, as upsetting as it was, the person who was doing me up. I I don't know that he should have or could have been doing anything differently. I think he was doing exactly his job in a fairly professional manner given the circumstances. Um, I wasn't getting yelled at or anything, which would have
Yeah, I
made it
got
so
yelled
much
at, and
worse.
she said she was going to call security on me or have me detained or something. There's a lot going on in my brain at the time, and the details are not that clear. So I was afraid
Yeah.
and upset. But I'm really sorry that that happened to you. There are people who like hate the airplane part of the flying.
Yeah.
Once I get on the plane, I am so relaxed. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
I made it through TSA. I got on the
Well,
plane without anybody yelling at me about my boarding pass.
yeah.
Now I'm on the plane.
Well, and it's so, it's always, you never know. And like I said, I've been very lucky in that I've not had many major incidents like that, issues. But, so much is so arbitrary. And even on a good thing, you're getting, Mike always laughs because he always gets, you always get yelled at for something. And
Yes.
like, he always laughs because, like I said, we usually have the pre-check thing. So like, oh, you don't take your thing out of the bag, but at the other place you do take your thing out of the bag. And if you take so this last time he got yelled at for taking the thing out of the bag,
Yes.
like like the tablet or whatever.
Right.
For Whereas if you were in the other line, you'd get yelled at for leaving it in the bag, and you're like, what?
Yep.
Well, what is it? What does it matter if I took it out of the bag? Like, what?
I know.
Can't
Yeah.
you just ran it through anyway? I mean, you're doing the same thing. Like, what?
I've definitely got yelled at both for taking my tablet out of the bag and for leaving it in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm going to get yelled at either way. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's so, and I think, I don't know. I mean, my experience in interacting is limited, but I think probably most TSA people are fine and just doing their jobs. But I think it's also real easy to get on a power trip, or just be a jerk
Yes.
and not, or just be a normal kind of jerk, but not recognize that people are really stressed out because you have a lot of power over them and their day and potentially their lives.
Yes.
you know that you could that by being arbitrarily annoyed at someone, you could ruin their trip. You could make it so they couldn't get to a wedding or a funeral, or, you could detain them and get them put on a list that is going to cause problems with them every time they fly from now on.
Uh-huh.
So it's even just being sort of a normal sized jerk,
Yeah.
um, or just having a bad day. Like, you really need to recognize that you do have a lot of power over people, and and people are going to be justifiably potentially a little nervous about that.
Right. Yeah, and it does make a difference because I've been to Rochester where TSA is they're just in a great mood.
Mm-hmm.
They're still doing their jobs, but they're not yelling at people.
Yeah.
And it really makes everything so much easier, even if they are like, oh, oops, your sunblock is 5 ounces. We're going to have to toss it. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can get real jerky about that.
Yeah.
Though the lady who was holding my purse while I was being molested by the other TSA agent, she was apologetic as she threw out my bottle opener because it had a teeny tiny blade on it, the kind you would use to like cut through the cellophane at the top of a bottle of wine. She did feel bad about that. And I do remember, this is kind of sad. She was like, well, is there anyone waiting for you? And I said, no, who'd be waiting for me?
Oh.
I was just ready to cry. I had to get away from her. She probably could have thrown out my whole purse at that point.
I'm positively riddled with crotch anomalies. Who would be waiting for me?
I know. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you seen my anomalies?
I mean, I don't even know what to wear through security anymore.
Yeah.
Last time, I want to say I tried to plan my outfit as simply as possible. I wore one fitted shirt, pants that didn't have any rivets or anything on them, and just like a plain pair of socks. And I
Mm-hmm.
did. I sailed through. Like, I've also had them do weird things. Like, how I usually wear a watch and a bracelet and a necklace?
Yeah.
It'll be summertime, so these things are all clearly visible on my person. I've had them have to touch them and go, is this a bracelet? I'm like, does it, what a, It's a thin band of silver around my wrist. What?
Well, and that's even like with the underwire on the bra or my thigh. Like,
Yeah.
if I've got some sort of weapon that is indistinguishable from the skin of my thigh, like what kind of weapon is that? Like, what do you think I have in there?
I
Or like,
know.
or like the underwire of your bra is presumably not gun shaped.
It's absolutely not. And even if I were to somehow slip off my bra on the plane and somehow get the wire out
Mm-hmm.
from my bra, what am I going to do? They think I'm going to poke somebody with it?
Because
I
they
mean,
have
it's,
silverware as well. I mean, they have like literal cutlery on there. So I mean,
yeah,
you'd probably just do that instead.
it would be a lot easier. And the bras I wear tend to be quite pricey. I don't want to take them apart just to poke somebody with the wire.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, it is weird. Like, what am I going to do? Unbend my bracelet and do it to poke somebody? Like, it's not sharp, it's a bracelet.
Yeah. So much of it, I appreciate the need for airplane security. I get it, but so much of it seems it's like we've put in place arbitrary rules to sort of just make people not. It's like the goal is to have you not quite know what they're looking for because they think that means you won't try to sneak anything by because you don't know what they're going to be looking for at any given time. But instead, it just makes it feel so arbitrary and weird. Like, and I think also they put in place rules and then they're afraid to get rid of them because like what if there was the failed shoe bomber with the guy
Uh
who
huh.
didn't really, so now everybody's taken off their shoes for 20 years
Yes.
and it's like, and I don't even think that was like a thing that was going to work from what I
No,
understand about that case.
no, wasn't the bomb just basically he lit his shoe on fire and nothing happened?
Something like that. Yeah. And so I mean, so everybody's got to take off their shoes now forever, and like you couldn't put something in your hat or you know what I mean. It's
Yeah,
just so arbitrary. But then I think once you put something like that in place, I think everybody's afraid to get rid of it because like what if the next shoe guy comes through and then it's my fault, it's
right.
it seems very silly,
It's
a lot
it's
of
a
it.
lot, and it reminds me. You probably had this too of being overseas, and you go behind the screen with a person,
Mm,
and I mean, I've had like like full frisking
yeah.
at non-US airports, and that was also a little bit weird. I was traveling for work, and one of my traveling companions was the vice president, and she's a pretty funny lady, and
Hmm.
she made the joke that she felt like she didn't have to go in for her next mammogram because she'd already been cleared by the security agent.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't know, especially when I'm going on a plane, do try to dress in something that kind of shows the outline of my human body
Right.
so that there isn't like anything bulky where maybe I could have something stashed and nobody would notice. And I
Well,
also
and
wonder with that, I'm like, where do you think I'm keeping something? Like you would
yeah.
see it. Like, where do you think I've put it?
Well, that's it. And I was wearing, yeah, like I was definitely, I don't remember what my blouse situation was, but I was definitely wearing, I mean, they weren't skinny jeans, but they were form-fitting jeans. I mean, they weren't baggy
Yeah.
loose jeans at all. At all. They're very like they're the shape of my legs. I would have a really hard time, like with my phone in my wallet, with my phone in my pocket, you can see that I have a phone in my pocket.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. Like it's not so yeah, where I
Yeah.
mean,
That's it.
and I was sort of like this guy probably I mean, I probably walked away from there and I don't care. This doesn't bother me at all. This guy is probably assuming I've got something weird up my butt. Like this guy is probably assuming I've got something weird up my butt. But then like I don't know. I guess like maybe he just gave up and was like I'm not going to go up his butt. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, with the woman who had her hands up my skirt, I was a little bit
Mhm.
worried that we were going to get into some kind of situation like that.
Mhm.
And I was like, Let, let's not.
Yeah.
Like, but I was concerned it was going to go that far to doing some kind of cavity search.
Yeah. That's
It
alarming.
was not good. It was
I don't
not
like
good at all.
I don't like that for you.
So, no, no, I don't like it I don't like it one bit. I just want to go on the plane.
I know, and I'm the same as you. Like, just get me on the plane and I'm fine.
Right. Then I won't even be, even in bad turbulence, I probably won't even get too scared.
No. Yeah.
Shaking like a leaf going through TSA.
No, it is absolutely the worst part. And I know people are terrified of flying, but yeah, it's definitely the going through TSA that makes me nervous. But I've never had any issues really significant until
Yeah,
this
I hope
time.
you
And it
never
wasn't
do
even that
again.
bad. It wasn't even that bad, but it
It's
was.
enough to shake a person up, though. You can have feelings about this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's not at all a good feeling. It's not comfortable. You don't really feel safe. It's humiliating and strange.
Yeah.
Even though I think probably no one else was really paying attention.
Probably not.
And luckily, at least Mike was there, presumably, so he could try to keep you safe
Yeah. I mean,
and like have
and like
eyes on you.
yeah, that's it. So I did have somebody with me, so that was nice. And like I said, the person was I think he was doing exactly what he was meant to do and was not being overly aggressive or rude. And he was sort of at each step he was sort of explaining to me like, okay, I'm going to reach, I'm going to reach up your thigh now. I'm going to not that I really had a choice of consent, I guess. I mean, I guess I could have said no and then not gone on a trip and
Yeah.
blown
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
mean,
money, but
I guess that is it. That's your choice. Like you can say no and you can not do the thing that you were going to do.
but I don't know. Like I also don't know. I mean, if you say no, I don't think you can like carry a gun into the airport and then get to security and have them find you and then go, just no, I'm just not going to get on the flight. I think you're still in trouble. So I don't know what
I
happens at that point,
wonder.
but
I wonder about that. Like if you have your permit and everything.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I
in
guess
New
maybe there
it
are those signs about what you can have in your bag.
right.
Huh.
But I mean, like in New York, I don't think you can have a gun in the airport, period. So I could be wrong about that.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't had the urge, so
Yeah, me
I've
neither.
never looked up the rules on that.
Yeah, me neither. Because that just
You
sounds
know,
like a big old pain.
you know what I do have the urge to do, Ross?
Is it pee?
A little bit, because we're
Sure.
almost done with the show. But what I
Sure.
really have the urge to do is listen to the fantastic program Music Matters, coming up next on WAYO LP Rochester. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week. Oh, this again, huh?
Tech Wizard Max got it all sorted out, so welcome again to the Murdery Blow Murder Show, where I, Ross Johnson, master of murder, am sharing with you the gory details of the 2016 murder of Heather Zykowski, a reclusive, middle-aged Rochester, New York woman whose disappearance and subsequent discovery rocked the nation.
Come on, stop it. Stop
Ow!
pretending.
God.
This isn't a funny joke at all. It's mean. And
Ow!
you're
Why does it
mean,
hurt my
but you're not
ears?
mean like this, Roz. Roz?
Ow. I don't know.
Roz! Seriously, Roz?
I don't know. It's doing it again. I can't do a show when my ears keep getting zapped. I cannot work under these conditions.
Roz?
Ow!